Hey everybody, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One. So I'm doing something different because I haven't quite figured out how to put my Instagram live videos on YouTube. So instead, I'm recording straight from my iPad and I'm going to upload it to YouTube and upload it to IG, and we'll see how that works. So if you guys are new here, welcome. Every Wednesday, I try to go live to really just talk to myself, because most people don't come on the live because, you know, they have jobs and they're busy and they actually have lives, and like me sometimes. So I normally come on here once a week, ramble on about stuff that's on my mind. Sometimes people are on, I'll, you know, talk to them about whatever's on their mind, or they'll just, you know, remark on the things that I'm talking about, and also do my makeup. Not because I'm a makeup artist, but because I started playing around in makeup a couple years ago, and I love any opportunity to kind of play around in it, to play with colors, to play with different products. I don't do product reviews because, again, I'm not a makeup artist. This is not what I do. I don't really know what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, but I've been watching videos, and I like how I look without makeup along with makeup. This is me without anything at all. Makeup isn't something I wear all the time. When I was physically going to the office, I did try to wear makeup every day except for Friday, which is casual Friday. So now, to make myself feel not human, but to make myself feel somewhat normalized, I put on makeup and I get like dressed. I'm wearing a dress right now every Wednesday, and I talk to you guys. So that's my excuse. It's like, oh, I'm going live, I need to put on makeup so they can like see me do something. So like I said, I am Mama to Wife 1. I've already prepped my face. I'm about to put some Fenty setting powder on my face because I have oily skin. Primarily on my nose is like where all of the oil seems to gather. This is Fenty Beauty in the shade Nutmeg. I actually bought this a couple years ago, not really knowing what setting powder was for, but knowing, and matter of fact, I went to Sephora and I went with a very close girlfriend of mine, and she kind of walked me through the whole makeup things. I went there to get my shade match, and you know, the person at, you know, if you've been to Sephora, there are people there who will do your makeup for you, and they just kind of talk you through things. And they have this machine there where they eye you and they put on your foundation, and they don't necessarily do your whole face, but it's mainly your foundation, it's primers, all that stuff. So they did that, and then once you do that, you can go to a little computer that's by their mirror, and you can look up the products, and then the products will show you like, oh, well, if this is the product you like, this is a similar product in a similar shade. So that way, whatever my shade was at Sephora, I don't remember what it was now, I can look up other ones if I want to try other companies. And that was my first time buying this, and I want to say that the shade they matched me with wasn't even there. They like didn't have it in stock, so I couldn't buy foundation that day anyway. But I, you know, at the time, now obviously this is pre-COVID, they had samples so I could sample, but I made the mistake, because I didn't know this, that when you are trying to match your shade, you're not supposed to put the foundation on your hand. I saw a bunch of people putting on their hand, not realizing that they're putting on their hand to use as a canvas when they're scooping up the product and putting it on their face. But when you're matching, you're supposed to put the product here on your clavicle, because this is the shade closest to your face, I guess, which I did not know. I had no way of knowing that. And so I definitely did it wrong. And the Fenty, I think I bought either bought the foundation or I ordered it later, because I matched myself in the store, but I matched it to my hand. And so when I got it, I was like, why is it making me look darker? And that's why, because my hand is a little darker than my face. So if you guys didn't know that, that's a tip that I learned. Foundation, when you're matching it, you're supposed to rub it here, and if it blends into your skin here, then it's going to blend into your skin here, and it's going to all look like one shade, and it's going to look nice. And trying to think, what else did I learn on that trip? I learned that I wasn't a fan of Sephora. I'd never been in a Sephora before, because again, I wasn't really into makeup until I went there and was trying to like look for stuff. And I don't know if because it was busy or not, but I don't feel like I got the help that I needed. And it was really kind of me experimenting with things and trying things here and there. And I had an opposite reaction when I went to Ulta, because my main thing was, I know that I am dark. And when you look up foundation, they normally come in like light, tan, dark, deep, medium, or whatever. So I'm like, I'm brown skin, obviously, but I'm not tan, but I'm not as dark as some other complexions. So for those brands that have a wide range of foundation, I know that I would fall in the dark category. But then it's like, oh, but are you dark with peach undertones? Are you dark with olive undertones? If you're just buying makeup, you have no idea what that means. And then when you go to do these quizzes, they're like, okay, well, do you look better in silver jewelry or gold jewelry? It's like, I don't know what I look better in. I prefer silver. That doesn't mean that I look better in. It's I got really confused, but at Ulta, someone told me, oh, you have a neutral undertone. I was like, bet, that's all I need to hear. So let me just put in dark with neutral undertone and just buy foundation that has that as the moniker. So needless to say, that's how I got into makeup, and so that's why I do makeup every Wednesday, or try to do it every Wednesday. So now that I have put on my setting powder, now I'm going to put on some concealer. But I did want to talk to you guys about a few things. So a couple topics that came up that I was like, I just want to talk about and give my opinion on it. So one thing was, there's a show that I love watching called 911 that comes on TV. It comes on Fox, I believe, every Monday at 8 p.m. And has Angela Bassett and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Rockman Dunbar. If you guys no, his name not Rockman Dunbar, is it? It is Rockman Dunbar. Yeah. And he was on Soul Food, the series. He played I don't remember all the characters from Soul Food, but the central character, the daughter, who had the husband and she had multiple kids, and she had like 3 kids. And she was played by Vanessa Williams, the actress, not the singer, former Miss America, but another Vanessa Williams. And he played her husband. So they're all in this show, 911, and it's a great, fantastic show, great writing about the lives of these people who are first responders. So you have Angela Bassett, who's a police officer, you have Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is a dispatch person, and then you have the firefighter EMT. So it's really interesting and fascinating. But this latest episode on Monday was their season finale, and Jennifer Love Hewitt character just had a baby, and she is suffering from postpartum depression. Now, I feel like I had a mild version. I don't say mild version. There are different levels I'm understanding more and more. Different levels of postpartum depression. And I believe that I went through something like that with my second child. I don't think I put a name to it in my head, but I didn't necessarily get help for it, because I guess in my head, like, oh, well, this isn't as severe as other cases I've heard of. I wasn't necessarily crying. I had a feeling of just being sad, though. And I don't remember how long it lasted, but, you know, I got over it and didn't really talk to anybody. But I think a couple times I did tell my husband, like, I'm really sad. I'm sad. I feel overwhelmed. I need a break. But for her character, it was a little worse than that. She just had this overwhelming feeling of failure. I'm failing as a mother. I'm failing as a woman. I'm failing. And at the end of the episode, she confesses to her partner that she needs help. She's not doing well. She really needs help. And you know how when they have episodes like that on, you know, postpartum depression, on drug addiction, on anything serious, at the end of the episode, they normally will, like, you know, if you know anybody suffering from this, call this number. So they had something like that, but they had a statistic up there, which I thought was really interesting. It said 1 in 7 moms experience postpartum depression, which I knew was a lot, but then it said 1 in 10 dads experience postpartum depression. And I thought that was just interesting. Not necessarily that they experience it, but more that I've never heard anybody talk about that before. And I just thought that was so fascinating, because again, I've never heard anybody talk about it, so just the fact that it exists is like, oh, okay. And then B, that's a lot of people too. 1 in 10 dads, that's a lot of dads that experience it. And because they don't talk about it that often or ever really, I wonder if dads even know that that's a thing. And I wonder how that appears in men as opposed to women, you know? And I can't speak on other women and why, you know, they develop postpartum depression. But my assumption is that for men, it comes from, I don't know, does it come from feeling like you're losing your wife because her attention, or a partner because her attention is divided and she's not spending much time with you? Is it seeing your wife suffer through her own postpartum depression and now you have the residual of that caused your own depression? Like, I don't really know, but I just thought it was a really interesting concept, and I would love to hear more about it and to know exactly what that looks like for men. And again, if men are even, because Because I'm trying to think, like, I know when I had both of my babies, I had heard of postpartum depression. No one talked to me about it, though. It wasn't, I felt like that's something that, well, actually, no. Well, I don't remember. But I want to believe that when you leave the hospital and they give you all that paperwork, not just release paperwork, but paperwork on breastfeeding, and here's information for a breastfeeding group, and here's what to do if your child has, has this symptom or that symptom. Like, I want to believe that in addition to all of that paperwork that's about the baby, that they also have paperwork in there about the mom. Here's some signs of postpartum depression, that kind of paperwork. So if they have that, assuming they have that, I wonder if they have similar information for dads, or in that paperwork about postpartum depression, do they put on there, hey moms, or do they put on there, hey parents, here are some signs? I think that's just, isn't that interesting? Again, I've never heard that being a thing for men. And I would love to know if there's stuff out there for men so that they can recognize the signs in themselves, in addition to recognizing it in their spouses or partners. Because postpartum depression, I don't think is a thing you can't predict, because every woman doesn't go through. It says 1 in 7, which is a lot, but that means that there are, in 7 women, there's only 1 that experiences it, while the other 6 do not. So it's not something everyone goes through. So you can't predict who's going to go through it and who won't. But I'm assuming there has to be some kind of signs. Why do I always get concealer on the bottom? I always do that, and then it makes me feel like I can't see. I'm never going to get it all out. This is why I don't do makeup, because I'm not good at it. But yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting statistic. And again, I'm interested to know, from a hospital's perspective, do they provide paperwork to both the partners? I keep saying spouse just because I'm married, but I know everyone isn't married when they have kids. I wasn't even married when I had my first son. But I'm very interested to know if that's a conversation that they have with the dads. And if so, what would be some of the symptoms for a dad? And again, where would his stem from? Does his stem from just, because you know how sometimes if somebody, I've heard this before, if a wife or a woman is having contractions, sometimes the husband will have sympathy pain. So it's not necessarily a contraction, but he'll feel her pain because he's so in tune to her and almost feels guilty that she's going through this, that his body will react and he'll feel some kind of pain himself. And it's like a sympathy pain for her. So I wonder if it's like that, where it's a sympathy depression almost, because your person is going through this thing where they feel sad, they feel they feel overwhelmed, or they feel less than. I don't know. And then again, like my mom suggested, that it could be because they feel neglected as a spouse because now their partner is so focused on this child. And that was one thing my godmother warned me of. It was like, when I was pregnant with my first child, said most moms, and it's normal, obviously, especially for your first child, you get so consumed with that child and consumed with motherhood, and am I doing this right? Are they being fed? Are they being taken care of? You do so much for them that obviously you neglect yourself, because that's why moms are always so tired, but you also end up neglecting your spouse or your partner. And it's never intentional, obviously, but in your mind, well, the baby needs me more than my spouse does, or my person. And it's like, yes, your baby does, because they can't do for themselves. However, that doesn't mean that your partner does not need you as well. And it's easy to say that for me now, because I'm on the other side of it. But I know in the beginning, I understood what my godmother was saying, and I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right, while I was still pregnant. But then once the baby comes, all this stuff goes out the window, because you are like, but no, you know. And it's difficult, and some men can be patient and some men can't, and maybe the ones who are impatient, that leads to their own postpartum depression. I thought that was interesting. And then I also know that there's a video going around. I didn't even talk about what I'm using. I'm sorry, guys. I always forget to do this. The concealer I use from Juvia's Place, it's number 9. So the higher up you go in number, I think, the higher meaning like going to 10, 11, the lighter it is. And I had 11 at first, and I was like, this is way too light for my skin. I feel like this is a little bit better. But I'm on the hunt to find another concealer, just because I want to try some new things. But Yeah. So also there is a viral video going around of a woman proposing to a guy. And apparently, I didn't listen to the video, but the little split thing I saw, she has a ring box open, and I don't think she's on one knee, at least not in the part of the video I saw, but she's proposing to this guy, and there's like people holding a handmade sign by a fence that says, "Marry me." So she did this whole elaborate public thing. And people have had this conversation before about should women propose to men. I mean, I personally feel like you do whatever you feel comfortable with. Each person is different. Some men like that, some men don't. You know, to each his own. Definitely don't make me no never mind. However, I will say for me and mine, I personally wouldn't. You know, and some women are like, well, no, I would never do that because what if he says no? And that's so embarrassing. But I feel like men, when they propose, they're facing that same thing, you know? The woman could always say no. It doesn't matter how great things are going in his head. She may not think things are great. She may think it's too fast. She may not want that public display. She may not want that kind of commitment. So I think it's always a gamble, whether it's the man asking or the woman asking. I don't think that's the issue. I just think, you know, people are thinking of social constructs and, oh, well, the man is supposed to do this and the woman is supposed to do that kind of thing. And again, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like in that situation, you have to really know your partner. And maybe there's some men out there that's what they prefer. They want that as opposed to having, you know, maybe it takes pressure off of them to come up with something really fancy and special, so they'd rather the woman take care of it. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think, I don't know. Like, thinking about my own husband, would he have wanted me to do that? Well, first of all, I know my husband is not a very public person, meaning he's a homebody. He doesn't do anything for attention. That's just not his way. So I feel like if I did do something like that, it would have to be something private, just he and I. It definitely wouldn't be a public thing at all, because that's just not his thing. Even when he proposed to me, it was just he and I in his house. There was nobody else around, no cameras, no pictures. It wasn't this grand gesture thing when we went out on a really nice date before that. But other than that, it was just us. So if I ever did something like that, it would be the same way, because I know my husband and I know what he would be comfortable with. So I'm assuming this woman going through all of this knew that her partner would be comfortable with her inviting like their friends and family and having it recorded and all of that stuff. Now, again, I didn't watch the whole video, so I don't even know if the brother said yes or no or not. But I don't know. I said just not for me. I would not propose to a man. And I don't knock anybody. It's a saying that say don't yuck somebody's yum. So I would never yuck or be like ill to what somebody else chooses to do. Because again, she knows her person and maybe that's what her person wanted and required. And, you know, to each his own. But again, I know who I'm with. And actually, I don't think my husband would have had a problem with it. I think he would have been, no, actually, no. Well, I don't know. In my head, I think he wouldn't have a problem with it, but I think a part of him would have been like, what are you doing? Like, I'm supposed to do that. That doesn't make any sense. And it probably would have turned to an argument where there'd be claims of me being too controlling or trying to pressure him. Yeah, now that I think about it, he would have a problem with it. It would just turn into an argument. As opposed to a gesture like, oh my gosh, you love me so much that you're willing to do this. It'd be like, yo, I'm supposed to do this. Why are you taking this over? Why are you always trying to take stuff over? And then it would lead into how I'm inept in other ways. And then I'd be pissed off. I'm like, you know what? F you, I don't want to marry you anyway. It would turn to one of those things. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's just not worth it. But again, that's what our girl want to do. That's what she wants to do. And if he's cool with it, he's cool with it. You know, at the end of the day, it's about the two of them. Well, granted, they made it about everybody else, and everybody else was there, so they kind of got us involved in their stuff. But after this video has gone, I guess, semi-viral, but that captured one moment. We don't know what happened after that. We don't know what's happening today. So, you know, whatever floats their boats, guys. Another thing I want to talk about, I watch was it on Black Love? No, it wasn't Black Love. It was a podcast I listened to, and they talk about things they do for self-care. And I've talked about self-care pretty often, at least not often, but I've talked about it before, and how I believe self-care does not have to be a big, huge gesture. It's just you doing something that only benefits you. That's, for me, the definition of self-care. This thing that I'm doing that makes me happy, makes me feel fulfilled, makes me feel safe, makes me feel powerful. It's only benefiting me and absolutely nobody else. Not my spouse, not my friends, not my children. This one thing is for me, and I love it, and I'm doing it for me and not for anyone else. To me, that is self-care. And on the podcast, they said a term that I thought was cool. They said unapologetic self-care, which I love that term, because too often, speaking from a mother's perspective, I think I should phrase it. Too often, when a woman wants to do something for herself, especially when she's a mom, she is looked at as being selfish. Because if I'm a mother, how dare I try to do something that is not related to my children? How dare I even think to leave the house without my children? How dare I think in my head that it is perfectly reasonable and okay to have a life outside of my children? And this is going to go for married people as well. Some people kind of have that thing like, why would you want to go out with your girlfriends when you have this man at home? Sometimes it's the men saying these things. And I thought the idea of unapologetic self-care was just really key, because it implies that A, I'm not apologizing for wanting to do something for myself, and not only am I not apologizing, I shouldn't have to, right? And I think that's really what I prefer to focus on. Like, I should not have to apologize for wanting to do something that is just for me, especially when I would never fault somebody for wanting to do something that's just for them. Like, I understand the importance of that. Even if you don't have a spouse and you don't have kids, like, you still need that self-care. You still are so many things to other people, you know? And I talk about this often. I think about this often. In my life, at any given moment, not even a moment, just in general, even though I'm sitting here talking to you guys and I'm doing makeup, I'm still somebody's mother, somebody's wife, somebody's daughter-in-law. I am somebody's sister. I am somebody's cousin, goddaughter, godmother, aunt, employee. Like, I still hold a lot of titles. And that addition, outside of the titles I have related to other people, I'm still, you know, an author. I am a blogger, I'm a vlogger, I'm an editor. Like, I hold a lot of titles, and I hold them all simultaneously. And I may not be doing anything in those titles all the time, but I'm still holding those titles. And at any time, you know, I could be operating in it. And because of that, all of those titles take something away from me. Like, they take time, they take concentration. Sometimes they take my energy. Sometimes they take my happiness, you know, which I'm keeping it completely real with you guys. Sometimes that happens as well. But I do them because that's the hand I've been dealt. And I don't complain, because it's not like I'm saying that, oh, I don't want some of those titles. But what I am saying is, because I have so many titles, because I am so many things to so many different people, I deserve the chance at times to be just me, for me. And no one should ever have to apologize for wanting to take that time. So I really appreciated that particular statement. I feel like it's something that should go on a t-shirt or should be tattooed on people. See, guys, I'm trying this new foundation, and this is my second time using it. And the first time I used it, I was like, oh, I think it's making me darker. But they were like, oh, no, I don't think so. But I use it again, and I feel like, yeah, it made me darker. Like, this is definitely darker than this, right? And the sucky part is, in stores, you can't sample things anymore. So I couldn't even go into the store to like check to see if this is my shade. But according to what I told you guys before about my undertone and everything, this is deep with a neutral undertone. It's Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation, normal to oily, in the shade Mocha 360. But this made me darker. So I don't know if it's the wrong undertone. And I'm not going to give up on the makeup. I'm trying to... This is only my second time using it, so I'm trying to see if I like even just the formula. The formula itself is not bad at all. Like, I didn't have to pour a lot on my hand. I still have stuff left over, and I did my whole face. But it's definitely not the right shade. So I think, unfortunately, it didn't cost a lot. So I think I'm going to buy another one and just get a shade up or down. Whatever shade comes like right before or right after. I'm going to get that one, and maybe that'll help a little bit, because it's not necessarily made me super, super dark, but it's definitely darker than my skin. I'm just looking at this. This contrast is a huge contrast. And the whole point of makeup is not supposed to look like you're wearing it. Obviously, my lids are not normally orange, so that kind of gives it away. But the extra foundation is supposed to kind of blend in all the way down. That's why you're supposed to match it with this. I'm a little upset. I'm almost tempted to put foundation on top of this, but I feel like that'd be overkill, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, y'all. That'd be too much. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is, and that's it. I'm going to leave it the way it is. But yeah, back to self-care. I didn't have a spat with my husband, but he said a couple things I didn't really care for. And one of the things that he said made me realize, you know what? I need to get out of this house more. I don't go many places. I mean, pandemic definitely was one huge reason. We also recently moved, and everything that I used to do is pretty far away from me now, like at least an hour. And then I always try to be considerate, like, oh, well, I can't plan to do this because I don't know if I have anyone to watch the kids. I don't know if my husband has something to do. Because we approach things very differently. If I need him to watch the kids, I'll say, hey, I want to do this thing on this day around this time. Are you available to watch the kids? And he'll say, yeah, or, yeah, that's fine. And the way he'll do it is, oh, did I tell you that I'm going to do this? Not asking me, can you watch the kids? And I feel like him doing that, he's assuming that I'll watch them. And I'm like, I don't think that's fair that you do it that way. And he was like, well, no, me telling you that I'm doing this, that's your chance to say, oh, no, I can't. I got to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, but you're not asking me if you can do it. You're telling me I already made plans and I'm doing this thing, whether you got something planned or not. That's why I take it. Communication is not a strong suit. I'll be the first to admit that. What else am I doing? Mascara. But regardless, our last little conversation, I won't say tiff, it wasn't an argument, but I'm not happy with him right now. I'm sure he doesn't care if I'm happy or not. No, he doesn't care if I'm happy. He doesn't care if I'm happy with him or not. But regardless, it made me want to get out the house. And when I say get out of the house, I mean find something to do at least 1 or 2 nights a week that is just for me. And I had this thought when I had my first child. And I think he was maybe 4 or 5. And I was like, wow, I haven't been a mother that long, but I legit can't remember what I used to do to have fun. And it's even harder now because the pandemic is still happening. So things that I maybe did like to do that I could remember, I can't actually do those things anymore because things are still shut down. It still is unsafe in a lot of areas. So I'm just thinking, like, what can I do? So what I would like to do is I love dancing. I didn't necessarily go to clubs. I went to clubs a lot when I was in my 20s, in my younger years. Don't really do that much anymore, obviously, because I'm just older. And again, there's a whole panorama going on. But I still like dancing, and I know they have like adult dance classes, so I was like, well, maybe I can find one of those. If I could find one that takes place at least one night during like the work week, I would love to do that. Or I also love to sing. I can carry a note. I haven't sung with other people probably since 8th grade. That was the last time I was in like a choir. And I was like, what if they have some kind of adult choir that I could join. I think I would like to do that. And again, I just moved to a new area, so who knows the kind of stuff they have here. And even dance classes, like if it's salsa, if it's not ballet, but like maybe hip-hop class, and it's like a fitness thing, I think I wouldn't mind doing that. So I think I'm going to look into something. You know, I have time, obviously, and things are starting to open up. Not all the classes are going to be virtual anymore. But I was like, you know what? I need to get out of this house on a regular basis. Part of our discussion, again, I'm not going to say argument, but part of our discussion was all about how I'm not spontaneous. I know I'm not spontaneous. I know that it's not my strong suit. I'm a planner. That's just what I do. I'm a planner, and I probably overthink, which is fine. But in addition to me overthinking, I'm married to someone who flies by the seat of his pants and doesn't like to think beyond today. And the thing is, like, I don't fault you for that because that's who you are. So don't fault me for being a planner because that's just who I am. And we got into a little bit of a discussion about that, which I didn't really appreciate. Because again, it's like, I don't fault you for being who you are. I know I would love for you to plan more so that I wouldn't have to do it. I'm the way I am because I'm not married to someone who that's a strong suit. So I'm a planner by default, not necessarily because I have to be in charge of everything. So, you know, this is kind of how it is right now. But I feel like getting out of the house once or twice a week, that's still not being spontaneous, and I'm fine with that. Again, I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. It's okay with me that I'm not. Because for me, I think that's just not for me. But I do want to get in the habit of doing something that is just for me, where I'm unapologetically doing something that makes me happy. And sometimes I think that just means getting out of the house. You know, I work from home, and my babies are virtual learning, so I'm in the house with them all day, every day. And granted, I try to take them places. I was a lot better taking them places before we moved and before the pandemic in general, but it's a little harder. But regardless, I still do a lot of stuff with my babies. Even if I just do stuff with them in the house, I'm still coming up with fun things for them to do. So, you know, I definitely got to find something that's just for me. Because the only thing I have for me right now is book club, but that's only once a month. And it's virtual. Like, it'll go back to being in person soon, thankfully. But in the meantime, I need to get out the house. Maybe I'll be missed if I start leaving on a regular basis. Because maybe that's the problem, is that no one has a chance to miss me in the house, and they don't have a chance to appreciate what I bring to the house. You know, that could be it. Then again, maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is that I am not unhappy with the life that I have. I'm not unhappy with the things that I do. And I do fit self-care in. Maybe not on a regular basis, but I do fit it in, you know. I get my hair done. I do these lives every Wednesday. I get my nails and my toes done once a month. Do a lot of reading for pleasure, like a lot. I love reading. And I don't know, there may be all the things that I do. But I don't know. I want to do something new. Something new, something unexpected. I'm not a person of mystery because I am the responsible person who's like, okay, so this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going to be. Here's how to reach me. I'll be done at this time. I should be home at this time. Okay, I'm in the car. Okay, I'm outside. Like, I'm that person. Because I feel in my head like that's being responsible. But I think I want to not be responsible. Maybe that's what it is. Not that I necessarily need to do something new, but I want to not be responsible. I want to get into something for me, not be predictable, not be that person who's telling me where I'm going. I just want to leave and be like, all right, I'll be back in a little bit. Where are you going? Oh, I'm just hanging out. Like, I want to be that person. And I am that person sometimes, but very rarely. But being spontaneous doesn't give me hives, but it's not me. It goes against my nature, and I don't know how to break out of that. And I don't feel that I should. Honestly, I feel like this is who I am, then accept that that's who I am, appreciate that's who I am, because me being a planner has helped us out on many occasions. And, but he was like, I know, but, sometimes if we go out somewhere, we go to wherever with the kids, if we forgot something because it wasn't planned or you didn't pack it, you kind of freak out. Well, I'm like, oh, we can just buy another one. In my head, I'm thinking about, like, I know, but we shouldn't waste money. We already had this. We just brought this. And he's like, no, just not think about it. I can't operate like that. There are too many things that can go wrong. I feel like there are too many things that do need to be planned out that aren't planned out. So, I don't know. Because on one hand, you could say that I can't relax. But on the other hand, you could say that because my husband never plans, that he's irresponsible, right? But I would never call him that because I appreciate who he is. He will bring the fun and the spontaneity that I cannot bring. I will bring the planning and the purposeful planning that he can't bring. I feel like it works. You can't have two people who are completely spontaneous, I don't think. And you can't have two people who are planners either. Because I feel like if you had two people who are the exact same in a marriage or partnership, that will get infuriating really fast. You would get on each other's nerves. As much as I like the person that I am, I could never be married to a person who is like me. And my husband and I had this conversation before, which I think is a great conversation you should have with your partner or your spouse. Because it just gives you perspective, I think. What would your life be like if you were married or dating someone who's exactly like you? And I posed that question to my husband. I was like, how would your life be different if you were married to someone who was like you? He was like, man, if I was married to somebody like me, the dishes would never get washed. We would order out every single day. And we would never go on family vacations. And I was like, now if I was married to somebody like me, I would just be infuriated by their to-do list. And we'd probably not have sex that much because I don't initiate. My husband initiates sex more than I do. So if I was married to someone who was exactly like me, we wouldn't have sex that much because neither one of us would be initiating it. We'd wait for the other person to come to us. And just a bunch of other things. But it was a really interesting conversation. And I think at the end, it was funny, but also made us appreciate the person that we married. I'm glad I married someone who was not like me because he brings things to my life that I cannot bring to my own life and vice versa. And even though some parts of him annoy me and vice versa, the things that he brings to the table are things that I did not know I needed. And again, I think he would say the same thing. So even though I don't really care for him today, he's not my favorite person right now, that conversation made me less likely to do what he wants me to do and more likely to get out and find something else that is for me. Something to get me out of the house, to get me out of this whole, like, girl, you just need to be spontaneous. It's fine. I still can't necessarily do that all the way, but it's like, you know what? Okay, let me start doing something that's just for me, finding something that's just for me. When you get home from work, instead of me being there and me like being in my pajamas and doing stuff with the kids and blah, 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 I'm make sure the kids are fed and set up and be like, all right, I'm going out for a little bit. Can you get them ready for bed and just leave? I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. I'll keep my phone on in case there's an emergency. But maybe some days I need to do that. Just literally get in my car and drive away. Come back, obviously, but just get in my car and just go somewhere. Like when we first moved here, one thing I liked to do was to get in my car, not turn on my GPS, and just pick a direction and start driving in an effort to get to know the neighborhood, to see what was around me, to see where the stores are, the shops or whatever, and just be like, oh, okay, okay. And I'm a person who always has a GPS because I have no sense of direction. I always get lost. But that was the first time ever, I think, that I just drove. So maybe I need to just do that once a week. Even if I have a destination in mind, just drive somewhere. Drive around the county, maybe go to another county. Just be like, you know what? He got the kids. They're all right. They're fed. They're happy. They're healthy. They're going to be just fine. Let me just go. So I think I'm going to do that. Maybe I'll do that tonight. But yeah, I think I'm going to get in the habit of doing that at least once a week, just driving until I find a class or a workshop or something to take. I'm just going to pick a day once a week and I'm going to drive. I think that's a good idea. But thank you guys for joining me. Oh, I do have my setting spray. I don't always put on. I think I'm supposed to do this. Smells good. Ooh. Thank you guys for joining me, listening to me rant about a bunch of different random things, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.